Can you grow strawberries in a GreenStalk vertical garden? Yes, you can. During the warm summer months, strawberries do great. The challenge is, can you keep your strawberry plants alive over the course of a cold winter? That's what I wanted to find out a year ago when I planted these strawberry plants, and they made it through my Colorado Zone 5B winter. Join me today as I show you how I planted these strawberries, took care of them through the summer, and more importantly, helped them survive my winter. Hi, I'm Gardener Scott, and you can see that most of my strawberry plants made it through the winter. This is early April, and I began this process almost exactly a year ago by putting bare root plants into my GreenStalk. Now, when you choose to grow strawberries in your GreenStalk, you can take one of two approaches. You can grow them as an annual plant. You put them into the tower in early spring, grow them through the summer, and anticipate that they will die when exposed to the cold winter months, and then you can start the process over again. Or you can treat them as a perennial plant and do what you can to help them survive the cold winter months so that they begin growing again in spring. And I already have some fruit that's beginning to grow on this strawberry plant. That strawberry was delicious, and that's the first time I've ever been able to enjoy a strawberry this early in the year. I've tried growing strawberries in my GreenStalk before, and this is what they looked like going into April. Completely bare. It's not unusual, whether in a GreenStalk or in containers, for strawberry plants to not survive winters below Zone 7. So, to have success growing strawberries outside, you need to be in Zone 7 or above. For the rest of us, we need to take extra precautions. The first precaution to take is to protect your plants from severe cold. Now, I do that by using this frost protection cover from GreenStalk and slip it over the entire tower. In Zone 7, when cold temperatures begin to strike, this may be all you need. And in Zone 6, this also offers a great amount of protection, and you might be able to get your strawberries through the winter. But for Zone 5 and below, this isn't going to be enough. You'll need to do more, and I'll talk about that here in just a little bit. This extra little bit made a big difference. The other big difference was, honestly, my greenhouse. My greenhouse gave me, here in Colorado, the ability to give an environment much closer to Zone 7 for my strawberries. When I began filming this video a year ago, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to keep these plants alive through my winter. But seeing that it can be done, let's go ahead and wind back the clock, and I'll show you the process I used to get these plants growing. I began by laying out all of the individual tiers for my GreenStalk. They were already filled with potting soil from the year before, but I revitalized that potting mix with new ingredients. I sprinkled some IV organic fertilizer on the surface, and then I added some more new amended potting soil and fluffed it all up to be nice and loose. I used bare root strawberry plants. So after unwrapping the plants, I laid them out where they were going to go in each individual tier. And then I began the process like any other plant of putting them into the soil in my GreenStalk. I just took my trowel, dug a little hole, slipped the roots inside, and then firmed the soil around those roots. And I did that with each tier for the GreenStalk. And with all of the soil and the plants in place, I went ahead and stacked each of the tiers in the final location in my greenhouse. While the central reservoir system is a key benefit to having a GreenStalk, I recommend whenever you plant that you water each of the cells individually. This helps the soil settle in around the roots and really gets the plants off to a good start. In just a few weeks, these bare root plants were actively growing. And just a few weeks after that, I had fruit. It really wasn't a surprise that the strawberries were doing so well in the GreenStalk. Most plants do. What I discovered, however, was these plants in this tower needed more water. My GreenStalks that were outside, I could get by every 2 or 3 days on a watering schedule. But the inside of my greenhouse got so hot that the soil tended to dry out much quicker. So I ended up watering this GreenStalk pretty much every day. Early in the season, you can expect that the strawberry plants will begin sending out a lot of runners. These runners are how the strawberry plants propagate, but they also take a lot of energy away from the plant and away from developing fruit. So I'm going to remove these runners. I'll go ahead and find a runner, trace it back to the plant, and then clip it off right at the base of the plant. Anywhere that there's a little branch on this long stem, I'll just cut it off. And I'll do this with almost all of the runners that I see coming from these plants. I say almost all because this is how you propagate strawberries. If you want more plants, you do it using the runners. Now, I put 36 bare root strawberry plants in this GreenStalk, and one of them didn't grow, which is pretty good. But I want this GreenStalk filled, so I can take this runner and a little garden staple and put that tip of the runner in contact with the soil. It will actually develop roots, and I'll grow a new plant in this bare pocket. This pocket that was empty now has a strawberry growing in it, and now this plant is actually growing quite well. It has sent out another runner, but I want the energy going into the roots of this little plant, so I'll go ahead and cut this runner off. Pruning off the runners is not just a one-time activity. You'll want to do it on a pretty regular basis if you want the development of the roots and the flowers, and most importantly, the strawberries, because all those runners take a lot of energy away from the plant, and it needs to be redirected to what you want. I just finished a second pruning of a lot of runners. It's now mid-summer. Had a great harvest early on, and now I want another great harvest from these ever-bearing strawberries. So with the runners gone, I'm seeing some good flowers, and I've already been eating strawberries earlier today. Now I did notice some chlorosis developing on these leaves. That's when the leaf is a light green color and the veins on the leaves are a dark green color. It's most common in iron deficiency, but I'm not worried that this soil is deficient in iron. It can also be a nitrogen deficiency or a sign that the plants are being overwatered. And so I think I'm doing a little bit of overwatering because this is the first time I'm growing inside a greenhouse. And I also know I haven't fertilized except at the beginning of the season. So using a 20-20-20 water-soluble fertilizer, I went ahead and watered each of these cells. And I've reduced overall the amount of times I'm watering over the course of the week, and I've already noticed that a number of these leaves that were chlorotic just a few days ago are actually looking pretty good. It's great to see all these wonderful strawberries filling these plants. It's midsummer and these strawberries are producing a large amount of berries. It's wonderful because every day I can come out and enjoy some of these fresh strawberries. I love them. I do prefer the Tri-Star, which I have in the upper portion, to the Tribute, which is in the lower portion, but none of them ever make it to the house because while I'm in the greenhouse watering and taking care of plants, I just munch on the strawberries. I got pretty spoiled being able to munch on my strawberries almost every day for just about 8 months. That was mind-blowing. When the snow and the cold were beginning to affect my plants that were growing in the green stalks outside the greenhouse, in here I was able to harvest into November and the beginning of December. Now, this is an unheated greenhouse, so as the temperatures cooled at night, I was still able to keep the temperature above freezing, especially when I threw on the protective cover. But at some point, it gets so cold here in Colorado that that wasn't enough. When the temperatures began dropping to minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit, I had to take other precautions. Now, I experimented a little bit. You'll see this in a future video. I used different heat sources to keep the temperature above those extreme lows. So it never got colder than 20 degrees Fahrenheit inside this greenhouse. That's a big reason why these plants survived and did so well. But not all of these plants survived. And that has nothing to do with GreenStalk. It's all on me. I neglected these plants because they were still alive, though slightly dormant during those winter months. I should have been taking care of them, but I didn't. When it was so cold out, when the snow was so deep, I didn't come out to the greenhouse to water these plants. And the sun was out almost every day in the winter, and it got very warm inside the greenhouse, enough to dry out the soil and to actually desiccate a number of these plants. I'm probably more surprised that so many of them did survive the winter after my neglect. I pretty much treated my GreenStalk greenhouse strawberries like I do all my other strawberries, allowing the rain and the snow and the cold to take care of them. But when you grow in a protected environment like that, you do need to get out on a regular basis and water your plants. Now, these strawberries are just beginning to wake up now. One of the things I need to do in this bed is to clean up these dried leaves and get the plants ready for another growing season. I'll do the same thing with these GreenStalk strawberries, though it's not nearly as much work. There are some dried leaves that need to be plucked off. There's also some of these dead plants that I need to deal with. So as part of a spring cleanup, I still will need to work in this GreenStalk just like I need to work in my outside beds. If there's sign of life, I'll just cut back all of the dead leaves and stems. As I inspect it, if I notice that there are clearly dead plants, I'll pull those. And of course, anytime I come across any fruit, I'll pluck it and enjoy it. A year ago, I was replenishing and revitalizing the soil in these tiers. I still need to do the same thing this year. Over the course of a year, the soil level has dropped dramatically. And especially where there's actively growing plants, in some cases, it's beginning to expose the roots. So just like last year, I need to add some more potting soil. That's easy for the cells that are empty. I'll just put in the potting mix and spread it around to make sure that the level is up. It's a little more difficult where there are plants growing because I'll have to get in here and actually work the soil around the plant as far in as I can, and to bring the level up just below the lip of these individual cells. It's not a big deal. This is pretty common anytime you try to grow a perennial plant in a GreenStalk or any container. The soil surface is going to drop, and typically in spring you're going to want to replenish it and bring it back up. More than half of these strawberries survived the winter, even when I abused them with my neglect. If I had taken a little more effort, I could have probably got almost all of them through the winter, even in an unheated greenhouse. This should give you the hope that you're looking for. If you live in a much warmer environment, or if you have a protection like this, you can grow strawberries in a GreenStalk as long as it doesn't get too cold in winter, and as long as you continue to take care of them. I'm looking forward to the rest of this season. You may see some updates on Instagram as I move forward, because these strawberries are going to grow. If you want to see more about strawberries, watch one of these videos next. I'm Gardener Scott. Enjoy gardening.